Rahu and Ketu in different houses. It is something that is a very popular topic. In this video, I'll be talking about Rahu in different houses. However, there would be a part 2 of this video where I would be talking about Ketu in different houses. So do check that out as well. Rahu and Ketu happens to be very scary celestial concepts to many, especially because in Vedic Jyotish, Rahu and Ketu are considered malefics. In Vedic scriptures, it is said that Rahu and Ketu came into existence after a demon was decapitated by Lord Vishnu. Most of the viewers are aware of this story, that because the demon had consumed Amrit, he couldn't die and therefore split into two living entities called Rahu and Ketu, who were later given the position of being celestial objects. However, they are shadowy celestial objects, which are what we now call the north node and the south node of the moon. Now let us look at Rahu in different houses, which would be followed by Ketu as well. I request you to please subscribe to this channel to keep receiving quality astro content before we dive in. If Rahu is in the first house, the native may have changing friends. The native might be fickle minded, may have a slim body constitution, will travel often, maybe without purpose, and may have enmity with relatives. If Rahu is in the second house, the native may get irritated or annoyed very easily. Money may be gained through friends or business. The native may have frictions in family life. This is likely, in fact. The native may have troubles with eyesight. Again, there might be enmity with relatives, and financial matters may not be certain unless counteracted by other combinations. So this is what Rahu signifies in the second house generally. If Rahu is in the third house, a third house is an Upachaya house, and Rahu in an Upachaya house is a very good placement in a chart usually. So therefore, there would be overall good results. Still, there might be some friction in family life because ultimately Rahu is a malefic. Proficient in foreign language or languages. Respect and reputation increases day by day for natives with this placement, unless other combinations negates this. And the native may have short-term travel, especially to Western countries. Rahu in the fourth house. Not a great combination. The native may be very hasty in their actions. Friends may change very often. The native may find a lot of pleasure in breaking rules, and by nature, the native may have manipulative or deceptive tendencies. Please note that this placement is very generic, and anybody with Rahu in 4th house doesn't mean that they would necessarily be manipulative or deceptive. An entire chart needs to be studied in order to thoroughly understand the native's characteristics. However, generally speaking, without considering other factors, Rahu simply in 4th means that the person might have manipulative or deceptive tendencies. Rahu in the 5th house. The native would be colic. Colic means that as a baby, as an infant, maybe below 2 years or 3 years of age, The child would have been very fussy and would always be irritable and constantly crying. So, Rahu in the fifth house shows this kind of a behavior. Falsely mistaken by others, hence may lose a lot of friends. So, if Rahu is in the fifth house, one may be mistaken or blamed for things that they haven't done, and they may lose friends on the account of being misunderstood, etc. The native might be very unconventional. They might do things that are not generally done by other people. They might have ideas that are very different from other people, and they might like and dislike things that are generally not liked or disliked by people. May have issues related to children. So, since this is the fifth house and fifth house represents the house of children, and Rahu is a malefic, this is sort of a given that they will have issues related to having children, or once they have the children, they might have issues from the children. The children can be troublesome, etc. The fifth house represents the heart, the human heart. So, native with Rahu in the fifth house may show heart related issues in the later part of life, or maybe even early, depends on the chart. And it can be something like an infection or a viral issue or something in those terms. Again, let me reiterate that these are generic principles and an entire chart needs to be studied to know if any or all of these symptoms can exist in a native. Rahu in the sixth house. Sixth house is again an Upachaya house, hence Rahu will give a lot of good if Rahu is in the sixth house. However, being a malefic, Rahu will still give some unfavorable results. Not to worry, like I keep saying in every one of my slides, that an entire chart needs to be studied. This is just generic guidelines, so no need to worry. Rahu in the sixth usually means the native will have a long lifespan. The native will be financially very well to do. However, because this is the sixth house and the sixth house defines enemies, diseases, etc., one may get a lot of enmity from people. Rahu in the sixth means there may be troubles in the abdominal area, but the native may have many cousins, and it is highly likely that the native may get into a controversy. Rahu in the seventh house. Unconventional and unorthodox to general standards, the native may not be religious. In fact, the opposite might be true. So, the native may have many relationships outside the social circle or with foreigners. Spouse may suffer from fertility issues, but the native will always eat good and rich, nutritious food. They won't be compromised in food. Will have very luxurious habits, and sometime in life, whether early or later, depending on the other factors in the chart, the native may suffer from diabetes. Ketu in the 8th house. If Ketu is in the 8th house, one may face dislike from the masses and humiliation, troubled by multiple health issues. The native may be quite aggressive, unscrupulous, and quarrelsome. Some of these effects, as I keep telling in each of my slides, may be negated due to other combinations in the horoscope, benefic aspections, and the good placement of Dharma Karmadhipatis in the horoscope, which are the lords of righteousness. So, in case the lords of righteousness, like Dharmadhipati Jupiter Karmadipati Saturn, the Lord of the ninth house, the Lord of the fifth house, they are well placed or these houses are well placed, many of these predictions may not come true. This is a very generic prediction only based on Rahu's position in a chart. Rahu in the ninth house. If Rahu is in the ninth house, one may have a nagging and dominating spouse, one may be frugal or stingy, may dislike the father or be hostile towards him, may be disrespectful and abusive towards God and religion. Likely, the native will be famous and will acquire a lot of wealth. Since Rahu depicts materialism, material gain, and ninth house is the Bhagyasthana or the house of luck, Rahu in the ninth does, no wonder, bring this type of a result into fruition as well. Rahu in the 10th house. If Rahu is in the 10th house, the native may be skilled in the field of arts and may like poetry, novels, and reading, will be famous, high probability of becoming a businessman, will have less children, can be unfair to others, and may be highly adventurous. Please note, 10th house is a Upachaya house and is a very good house for Rahu placement. Rahu being a planet of creativity in a way, because Rahu means imagination, no wonder the native may be artistic and may write poetry, novels, reading. It's a very good placement for filmmakers and creative people and will be famous. Usually, artistic people become famous, and 10th house also represents status. So, Rahu, who is a material planet, well placed in a 10th house, does have an added advantage or added indicator that the person will become famous. Rahu in the 11th house. The native may join an army or navy, will become famous, will earn a lot of money, will be a scholar and acquire a lot of knowledge, will have very few children. Financial gains might mostly be from foreign countries. Rahu represents foreign countries, foreign to where the native is born or brought up, and 11th house represents gains. And Rahu is a material planet. If placed well in the 11th house, Rahu certainly does promise some amount of good financial gains unless countered by other combinations in a chart. 11th house also happens to be a Upachaya house, which is good for Rahu. Rahu in the 12th house. If Rahu is in the 12th house, the native may be helpful and prosperous, may have eye troubles, may face issues related to conjugal life. Please like, share, and subscribe to keep receiving quality astro content.